I was 63, I was managing a Lowe's in Mount Vernon, a little town north of Seattle. And so it was December 26, 2013, and I came home. Connor was 17 at the time, and he was sitting on the couch, and I come in with my vest on. This is Dave, store manager, and I walk in, it's 2:30. He says, "What are you doing home?" And I said, "I quit." He goes, "You quit Lowe's?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "You quit being a store manager?" And I went, "Yeah." And he's kind of slouched on the couch looking up at me, and he says, "Well, what are you going to do now?" I said, "Well, I'm going to be a speaker." And so he thinks about it for a second. He looks up to me. He goes, "Well, that's just super, Dad." That's all. I wasn't quite expecting that response. And he goes, "I have a question for you now." I go, "What's that?" And he goes, "What are we going to do for food?" And so, but that's how it started. And I've never looked back. And so I'm so glad. So thinking about life a lot at 24, not reacting until 45, whatever that was, years later, and then doing it now. It's been 11 or 12 years. And I just am thrilled to know I could, hopefully I'll be here another 10 or 20 years, but I could leave the planet today and be pretty happy that I tried to make a mark that impacted a lot of people.
Yeah. Huh. That's a funny story.
Yeah, I know. That's funny.
Going. So what did you do for food? Did you
Well,
make
that's it's
money
interesting
as
you
a
mentioned.
speaker?
I had money saved, but really good question because looking back on it, I never should have quit Lowe's, and don't like to say should, but I should have kept working at Lowe's and doing the speaking on the side, and then when the part-time gig passes the full-time gig, then you quit the full-time gig. So as
Hmm.
a result, I was working in the Seahawk Pro Shop. I was doing DoorDash or Postmates or whatever it was, and later I was driving Uber and doing a lot of things to make extra money. So it would have been smarter because I made a lot of money as a store manager. It would have been smarter to stay there and do it on the side. Because I always tell
Right.
people, if you really want to pursue your passion, you put 40 hours into your general regular job, take another 20 hours and put it into your passion on the side. And then again, when that passes it, but well, that's a lot of hours. Yeah, so that's the way it works sometimes. You got to pay the bills, so you have to kind of keep the first job. So, but I had another friend point out, Jack. He said, "I don't think you would have gotten as far as fast if you had kept working part time at or kept working at Lowe's because you wouldn't have the time to do it." But it was stressful. It's like I remember once I was driving Uber and the gal starts bossing me around and move these bags over here and put this over here and do this. And I wanted to look at her and go, "You have no idea who you're talking to. I'm a very famous speaker. I'm the person that's called the gratitude guy." And I just thought, "Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Let me put this in the trunk for you." So
Yeah.
it's just, you got to do what you got to do. But people say this all the time. If I look back, I really wouldn't trade anything because if I did, I wouldn't be talking to Jack today. And just the path of the maze and all the left and right turns and things that it goes. So, yeah, it's worked out really well.
Right. It seems like you've had a lot of different chapters in your life, but they've all led you
For sure.
right where you wanted to be at the beginning.
Yep, for sure. For sure. Yeah, it's worked out really
Yeah.
well.
I mean, I keep going back to at 18 you wanted to be a motivational speaker.
Right.
There's science behind the fact that kids around like 4 years old, they know what they want to be when they grow up. They say, "I want to be this
Mm,
when I grow up," and throughout their lives, they're conditioned by school, by parents, by friends, by everybody around them to steer away from that dream. I mean, at 4 years old, I wanted to be a Jedi Master, so maybe
well,
maybe mine was a little off track. Can't be Yoda, but um, I think it's really cool that you've come back to that, and everything seems to have led you there. You've had the chapter of being uh, boat racer, millionaire, store manager, now speaker, and it's so cool how all of that worked out to bring you to right here, right now.
yeah.
As
Thank you.
cheesy as that
And
may sound.
no, not at all. And it sounds kind of similar for your dad. Kind of a similar. He
Yeah.
might have been. I think you said he was 43 in his 40s, but I imagine his story was pretty similar. And what I think is sad about it, and I am proud of myself for this too, is that how many people say that but never do it. And that goes back to that. I wish I'd taken more chances. These people say, the older people say, and well, I was always going to do so and so, but you know what? You didn't. And that's really a shame. And why didn't you? Well, I was too afraid I'd fail. I was this and that and so forth. And that's why I like that thing about take the chances. And it's something like, what is the I used to say, I did a video once on hitting a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. I thought if I went down to Seattle Mariners and tried to hit a 95-mile-an-hour fastball, I might get lucky and just put the bat out there and just get a bloop hit or a bunt or something. But if I don't go down there, there's a 100% chance I can never hit a 100 mile per hour fastball. So you got to get the bat out there, and you got to go to the park and take your shots. And I just admire people do. That's why people that do stuff and fail are some of my favorite people, because they tried, and that's so cool.
Hey, you can't be afraid to strike out. Famous Babe
Exactly.
Ruth quote, but it's so true. I mean, what do you do when you're afraid to strike out? You don't go up to the plate, or you're always defensive, and you're never going to be aggressive enough to
That's
actually
exactly
make
right.
progress and make a dent in what you're doing.
Exactly
And
right.
in that way, your job, like you quitting Lowe's, it seems like you had the confidence in yourself that no matter what you did, you'd make it work.
Yeah.
And I think that's what separates people. I have that confidence as well. Someone might think I'm crazy for doing what I'm doing, but I know that I'm going to make it work. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And it's that single-mindedness, which is, in my opinion, kind of one of the God-given things. I don't know if you can take a course, how to be so single-minded like Jack Wagoner, and then get an A, and now you are. I think you sort of either get it or you don't. So that's one to really appreciate a blessing that you have, because I do that, especially in the motivation thing. And I see people all the time that are 20 years younger than me that look like they're 20 years older than I am. And I just think, man, they never took care of themselves and so on. And so it's, again, I feel very fortunate for a lot of those blessings.
Yeah. So how do you react to adversity with that single-mindedness? How do you react to adversity?
I think like anything else, I don't know if it's the right word, but you just attack it. And one of the things I've always been fond of is I'm a huge, even though with all the technology and so forth, I'm a huge note taker. And so my whole world is these half pages of yellow. And here's Thursday and 8 o'clock power hour to 10:30 Jack Wagoner, 12:30 Jason Lucas, and so forth. And I go, so I if I have adversity, I get a pad of paper out and start, okay, what's the plan? Because let's get over our crying, let's get over we're upset and all that kind of stuff. So what's the things, what do I need to do to attack this? And so then you start writing them down, and that's why I love the pad of paper. And I know there's other technologies too, Word doc or whatever. And then I think, okay, now these are the 10 or 12 things you need to do. Okay, now let's make another list and put them in the right order, because number 8 should be number 1. And then you do that, and then you start attacking number 1, attacking number 2, and going through it, because there's nothing worse than, oh, Jack, that sounds so terrible. I'm so sorry. Oh gosh, you must feel terrible. I mean, whatever. Once you get past that, okay, let's get some action here. And let's get a pad of paper and let's put together a plan of attack. And before you know it, it's behind you. And then another lesson learned where you found out you got some obstacle put in front of you, and you learned how to get past it. Because we've all had adversity, some more than others. But adversity is where you really get the lessons. That's what really, you don't learn a lot of lessons when everything's going good in your life. It's just the way it is. I mean, it's nice, but the real lessons are in the adversity.
Have you sought out adversity in your life?
I wouldn't say so. I think I would say I've taken chances on things that maybe ended up being adverse. I mean, I've made several mistakes in my life that, frankly, I know they say there's no regrets, that got me into adversity. But looking back on them, I kind of wish I hadn't made those mistakes. And one of the things, this is pretty highly personal, but there's 2 or 3 regrets I have in my life where some people got hurt, and I'm not a fan of hurting people. And that really bothered me, and to do it over again, I wouldn't do that, because it's one thing for yourself, but for me to hurt somebody else, I can think of 2 or 3 times over 75 years where I regret that. And you just have to say you're sorry and move forward and ask for forgiveness and say, I'll do better next time.
Right. An interview I had yesterday, a guy was talking about how gratitude is at the opposite end of the spectrum from things you hate, or
Interesting.
bad situations. So if you are struggling to find something you're grateful for, look at the things that you regret in your life, or look at the things that you wish wouldn't have happened, or that you struggle with, and you can look on the other side of that. It's because you're grateful for the opposite.
Right. Good
I think
point.
that's powerful.
Yeah, very, very, very good point. Good point. I agree.
You just finished watching a clip from the Grateful Podcast episode with David George Brooke, that gratitude guy. Go check out the full episode right here if you enjoyed. It's right here. Click it. Right there. Come on.